Good LVNVs and welcome back to Film Club. Last month we talked about Logan and Ex Machina, and those are the videos I was going to be recommending to you guys, so hopefully you guys have had enough time to watch them and get your thoughts and opinions on them, and today we're going to talk about them and then recommend another 2 films for next month. So first off, let's talk about Logan. Now, I knew going into Logan that I wasn't going to fully understand everything that was going on because I haven't been an avid follower of like the X-Men universe, neither of them. I've watched I think like what would be considered several X-Men films, but I've never been like a diehard X-Men kind of guy. I've seen the Wolverine, which is the one where he goes to Japan. I've seen X-Men Apocalypse, and I've seen X-Men, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one where Ryan Reynolds plays the really, really bad version of Deadpool, whatever that one is called. So those are the only X-Men films I had seen before watching Logan. So I knew I wasn't going to have, I knew when like Logan got announced, and a lot of people were talking online about how this is going to be an amazing film and how they're really excited to see like Logan as an old man and that kind of thing. But I saw when the trailers were coming out, and I wasn't really as hyped for it as everybody else because I wasn't that big into X-Men. I still really am not that big into X-Men. But regardless, after the reviews came out and everyone was giving it like such high praise, and a lot of people were saying like it's not just a great X-Men film, it's also just a great film. So I decided, what the hell, let's give it a try. Now, again, like I've been saying, I have never been a huge fan of X-Men films or the X-Men franchise. So I think that probably plays a huge impact as to why I unfortunately didn't like this film that much. Now, put your pitchforks and your torches away. There were certain parts about the film that I did enjoy, but, and again, I'm going to reiterate this while I talk about this, I've never been a huge follower of the X-Men franchise, so that definitely plays a role into my opinion here. I did not overly like the film as a whole. I think there was just, it didn't, a lot of the praise that made me go and watch this film was because everyone was saying it was such a great film in general, like take away the whole superhero powers and all that stuff, and it was still a great film. And I could maybe sort of see where they're coming from, but it just didn't hit that way with me. The opening, I will say the opening to Logan is phenomenal. The way the opening works, where like he's obviously really old, he's really tired, he's sick, and he's just doing an average job. He's just doing an average kind of job thing, and he gets a bunch of people roll up on him and they try to steal his car and stuff, and he's defending his car, and he just gets the shit kicked out of him, absolutely just demolished and wrecked. Granted, he does win in the end, he does come out on top, sort of, but it's just like he gets his ass just handed to him, and then it's just like everything kind of goes quiet and somber, and then the title for it, just Logan, appears on screen. That is very well done. That's really sets the mood for how the film is going to be, and that's the one thing that films always do this. You'll notice this as well. A lot of movies, they will have what I like to call the story before the story. It's a tiny little short part of the film right at the very beginning that sets the tone for the entire film. And usually, 9 times out of 10, you can take away that short, tiny little story, take it out of the film completely, and start the film after that short story, and it will still totally make sense. But the thing is, it sets the tone for the film. So, like a lot of films will start you out, let's say, James Bond, for example. Any James Bond film is a perfect example of this. Every single James Bond movie, doesn't matter which one, every single one of them starts with an action scene. It starts with something going on between Bond and the villains, and there's gunshots or a car chase or something is going on every single time. And it always gets resolved just at the end, and then the initial credits start. And you could take any of those James Bond movies, take that tiny little short story, take it out of the actual film, and start the film right after those credits, and it would still totally make sense. But it doesn't set you up. It doesn't set the viewer up to understand what they're about to watch. All those action scenes before a James Bond film starts is to set you up and make the viewer have the expectations like, okay, this is the kind of film this is going to be. Because a lot of the times, and I don't think every James Bond film does this, some movies, other action movies do this, where they'll start with a high intense action scene and everything, then they do the credits, and then they go into a very just like walking into a room, talking and like political stuff, and just kind of like, or maybe they're in a class, they're like a teacher is teaching a class or something after all that action stuff. But if you started the film with that, the viewers kind of like relax and they're like, okay, we're set in like a very calm environment and everything. and then it goes into the action. And it's kind of jolting for the viewer because you set up with this kind of calm mood and then you move into the action. Whereas when you start the film with the action, you're telling the viewer right off the bat, this is an action movie and this is what's to be expected. So when Logan, it does start off with action, but it shows with your main character, your main protagonist, just losing, just horribly getting his shit kicked out of him. His car gets damaged, like he is in no shape to fight whatsoever. And this is the same character that through like 10, 20 different films has always been like the alpha. He's always been on top, beating the ever-loving shit out of everybody and just coming out top and just winning every single thing that comes his way. And then this film opens up with just a couple of regular guys with guns, of course, but regular guys. They're not mutants, they're not super powerful people, just kicking the shit out of this protagonist that's always been on top. And then after he gets his shit kicked out of him, Logan. And then the film starts. That was really well done, and I really liked that. But since that happens, then the rest of the film just kind of starts to fall off for me. The main villain is your standard main villain. There's nothing exciting about him. He doesn't strike me as like a really memorable villain. I can't even remember his name. He wasn't that great of a villain in my eyes. And this is probably the most controversial thing. Everybody seems to love the little female girl who doesn't speak English through the film. That's like Wolverine Jr. with her claws. I fucking hated her. And it's like, I didn't hate her acting. I didn't hate the actor playing her. I hated the character. She was just annoying. Everyone's like, oh man, she's so feisty and she's so like badass and she's so cool. I just did not like her. Maybe that's a personal opinion, but she wasn't memorable to me and she was just annoying. And I did not like her. Even when she switched emotionally near the end of the film and she started to become like more friends and helpful, I still didn't like her. I just did not care for her. So again, maybe that's just a personal opinion. It totally very well could be, but I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Maybe I just hate kids. I don't know. But overall, it had moments of goodness, like the opening, like I've talked about, and the ending, spoiler, where Wolverine is now dead and gone, and they bury him right before they cross the border, and the little girl takes like the cross and then puts it on its side, so in an X. That I liked. That was very well done, and I kind of knew it was going to happen. Like they were standing there, they were standing over the grave, and all the kids were running. When she was saying, as soon as she grabbed the cross, I was like, bet you she's going to tip it over, and lo and behold, she tipped it over, so it was an X. That was cool. That was kind of neat. I liked that. That was kind of cool. But really, overall, it just felt like your average superhero film to me. Even with Logan being kind of old, he still came out on top for most of the part. Like even when he was fighting his double, yes, he got beat up, but he still kind of came out on top. And even like once they got when they got to that the farm with all those other people and the family they were taking care of, I knew immediately that family wasn't going to live. Like as soon as they got there, I was like, okay, well, this family is obviously going to die. They're all going to get disposed of. And then I had a sneaky suspicion that I can't remember his name either. The bald guy that's always been in the wheelchair. I know I can't remember his name. I know I'm a terrible freaking person, but I kind of had the feeling that he wasn't going to make it from the start. Like he was always in horrible shape since the very beginning of the movie. He was just not with it. I had a pretty good idea he wasn't going to make it through the entire movie. I had a pretty good idea. How he died, though, that did take me by surprise. That was well done. Got me there. But the death itself wasn't a surprise to me because you had the feeling he wasn't going to make it from the very beginning. It would have been too easy if he made it, if that makes sense. So all in all, Logan for me was an okay film. I wouldn't watch it again. I'm glad I watched it once, but I could have done without watching it, and I probably won't watch it again. So I'm not gonna give it like a what out of 10 or an out of 5 stars or anything. That's just because I want you guys to have your own opinions. I don't want for reviews and stuff. I don't want to label them because everyone can take a story differently. Like if you're a hardcore X-Men film like moviegoer who just loves the universe and everything to do with it and they can do no wrong, you'll think Logan was the absolute pinnacle of X-Men films. It was a 10 out of 10, 5 stars, amazing kind of thing. And that's great. That's totally fine. But me, I'm not a huge X-Men fan, and overall it had its moments, but they were few and far between. So I didn't overly enjoy it that much. So for me, I watched it once, probably will never watch it again, and I'm totally okay with that. The second film I recommended to you guys was Ex Machina. I liked it better than I did Logan. I also have been a big fan of AI kind of stuff. So again, that could be just personal opinion going into that. But what I like about Ex Machina was that it defied my expectations. Now what I mean by that is there's this thing I like to do when I'm watching movies or even reading books now. And that's if I can guess what is going to happen in a scene or in a chapter or whatever I'm watching or reading, and that does happen, I'm proud of myself. When I cannot guess what is going to happen, or what I guess what's going to happen and what happens is not what I guessed, and I'm okay with that and I'm happy with that, I'm proud of the writers. Ex Machina, the ending of Ex Machina, was one of those films where I was proud of the writers, because it was setting me up this whole time, spoilers by the way, between the affair with the girl robot and the main character whose name I cannot remember. I always thought because of how everything was going, they were going to get out and everything was going to be okay and they would be able to live and coexist peacefully and everything was going to be fine. And when that did not happen, when she escaped and she locked him in that building for however long, the movie doesn't tell you, and she escapes into society, and then you just see her like look both ways on the street and then disappear into the crowd and the film ends. I was so taken back and I was angry because I was like, I'm not okay with this. I wanted them, they look like they had such a relationship going on and they were going to work together, and it was perfect. It was your perfect ship, if you will. And I was so excited. And then that didn't happen and she turned on him without even nothing. Just decided, you know what? Don't need any of this, and turned on him. It completely took me by surprise. And at first I was angry. And I was not happy that I did not get the ending that I wanted. But then afterwards I realized that's a perfect way to tell a story. Because if you always give your viewers or your readers exactly what they want, yes, they get satisfied, but it's not the exact same feeling that you can invoke when you leave them hanging with a question or maybe something they did not want, but it was still good regardless. So now I sit here and I think back to Ex Machina and I go, you know what? It might not have been the ending that I wanted, but if I was directing that film or I was writing that story, it's the exact ending that I would have put, because it leaves the viewer questioning and it leaves them with more thoughts than just a satisfied, yes, it ended how I wanted, and then you don't ever think about it again. It was just a simple, good story that ended perfectly how you wanted, and you push it out of your brain. But stuff that leaves you with a question, or stuff that leaves you thinking about it, or just kind of like twisted inside, those are the kinds of stories that are beautiful because they linger and they make you think. So if I was writing Ex Machina, it's exactly how I would have ended it. And that is what I think is just a great way of telling stories, is if you can leave the viewer with a question or maybe with like a little bit of a twist inside and not exactly satisfied perfection. That is a good way to end a story, I think, personally. So overall, I really enjoyed Ex Machina. I might go back and watch it again a second time, maybe with a friend or something. I don't see myself watching it alone because it won't invoke the exact same feelings I had the first time I watched it. There are very few films out there that every time I watch them, it invokes the exact same feelings in me. The Dark Knight is one of them. I Kill Giants is another. Both those movies, every single time I watch them, I have the exact same feelings. Like, I know exactly what's gonna happen. I've watched them several times, but it's the feelings I get every single time I watch them that's just perfect. Now, I will say, as a quick side note, and I want to talk about this film a lot more in another video, and I will save that for another time, but I Kill Giants is, I've talked about this on my Discord, by the way, link down below if you haven't joined that Discord yet. I Kill Giants is a very rare film to find in my experience. I want to talk way more about this film in another video, but all I'm going to say is, if you have the time, it is on Netflix. Watch it. Do not read any reviews. Do not read the synopsis. Do not do any investigating into this film whatsoever. Just look for it on Netflix, type in I Kill Giants, and just watch it. That's all I ask. I promise you, with every ounce in my body, watch it. Now there's going to be one more thing I want to talk about quickly, and I know this is kind of a step away from Film Club, but I want to do this now every so often because I've started reading again. I'm going to recommend one book, just one. And it's not going to be like, I don't want you guys to read this book in 1 month. Maybe you guys are really, really fast readers and you can finish a, what is this, 600? Yeah, 600 page book in 1 month. And that's great. That's fantastic. I can't. I work full time. I don't have time to read books all the time. I usually only read when I'm on break at work. This one video, I'm going to recommend this book, and that is The Lies of Loch Lamora. This is an incredible novel. It is also the first novel ever by the author Scott Lynch. Now, this book came out in 2003, I believe. 2003, something like that? 2006, sorry. The book came out in 2006, and it is part of, it is book number 1 of what is to be a 7-book series. There's only 3 out right now. I've read this one and the second one. I haven't started the third one yet, but I have it, but I haven't started it yet. Now, I'm going to recommend this book, and I'm going to tell you right now, you do not need to read this book and then feel like you need to read every single other book afterwards. There's only 2 right now, but you don't need to read every single book afterwards. This book has a perfect story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the ending ends without a cliffhanger. Like, you don't need to be like, that was a terrible ending, now I have to go and read the second book and wonder like what happened. It doesn't do that. It leaves you satisfied. Not in the same kind of like perfect ending satisfied, but it's a book you can read and you don't feel cheated out like you have to go and buy the other ones, if that makes sense at all. And it's quite a read, I will say. Now, I don't think it's a hard read. I'm not an avid reader myself, so I mean the pages might look scary to you, about 530 to 600 pages, yes, but it's a fantastic read. The main character is just brilliant. He is the exact type of character that I absolutely love in storytelling, and he's the same kind of character as a book series I've talked about before called The Broken Empire, and that is the Prince of Fools, and then King of Fools, and then Prince of Fools. No, I'm completely wrong. It's called Prince of Thorns, not Prince of Fools. I think Prince of Fools is a different book by the same author, but it's not the same story. Prince of Thorns, the main character for that is the same personality trait as the character from The Lies of Loch Lamora, but I like the character in The Lies of Loch Lamora way more than I like the character in The Prince of Thorns, but they're the same kind of personality trait. So if you read The Prince of Thorns and you really liked the main character from that, I can 100% guarantee you won't like The Lies of Loch Lamora, you will love it. So to end this video, we're going to recommend 2 films and then the book The Lies of Loch Lamora. And we won't talk about The Lies of Loch Lamora in the next film because I don't expect you guys... Movies are simple. You can sit down, you can watch them in an hour to 2 hours, however long they are. Books, you can't. They take a long time, so we're going to give a lot of time with the book, and we'll come to it several months from now. But for next month's movies that we're going to talk about, I am recommending The Matrix, because I've never watched it. I don't know how I haven't, but I haven't, but it's on Netflix, so we're going to recommend The Matrix, and we're also going to recommend The Hateful Eight. Now, these are 2 films that I think will cover a wide audience. You have The Hateful Eight, which is kind of like a Western cowboy movie with Samuel L. Jackson and a couple of other people, so you can't go wrong there. And then you have The Matrix, which is just a classic, and everyone seems to, whenever you talk about The Matrix, everyone seems to just absolutely love it. So we should be able to cover a wider audience with these 2 films, and hopefully you guys enjoy them. And I will see you guys next month for the next film club where we talk about The Matrix and The Hateful Eight and our thoughts about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, tell your friends. If you didn't, you tell me. Have yourself a good one, everybody, and I'll see you guys later. Skål!